Hey guys, welcome to another devlog of Project JazzGame. For those of you who don't know, I'm working on a third-person open-world action-adventure game packed with parkour, combat, stealth, and dynamic environment interactions. It's codenamed Project JazzGame because I haven't figured out a proper name for the game yet. And in this devlog, I'll be going over how I turned an empty project to this in about 2 months. And I'll also be going into details on the animation system later in this video. So yeah, with all that out the way, let's get straight into it. Well, in case you couldn't tell, Unity is my game engine of choice, well Unity 6 to be specific, and there's no feeling quite like staring at a blank Unity project. So the first day was just basically me setting up the project. I started using this editor layout recently over the default one because I found out that this one is just a lot faster for me. No, there's a lot less mouse movements you have to do to get around the project, hierarchy, and the inspector. I also have a bunch of layouts I switch between depending on what I'm working on, like level design or recording gameplay for making videos. And I use folders to keep everything organized. My project structure usually looks something like this, having one folder for all external assets I'm going to be using, and creating assembly definitions for assets that don't come with one. Using these assembly definitions keeps things organized in my IDE too. I put all my code in a folder called modules, and from the name of the folder I think you can already guess I break up all my game systems into modules, and I also use assembly definitions to enforce this, with subfolders having their own assembly definitions too. This forces me to keep everything as loosely coupled as possible, which is good because I'm going to be working on this game for a while, and I can't be worrying about something in module A breaking because I changed something in module B. It's honestly a bit more tedious doing things this way, but I know it's going to pay off in the long run. And also, quick side note, there's this asset I use called Hierarchy Designer. It's on the Unity Asset Store and I think it's the best at what it does. It lets you create folders and separators in the hierarchy for easy organization. It also does other things like displaying component icons or tags and changing the default look of rows and columns in Unity. And a lot more, but I mainly just use folders, icons, and the separators. I highly recommend this to anyone using Unity. So after the project setup, I needed to get my character controller up and running, and I could go about this in 2 ways. Either I spend weeks or even months writing my own, or I use an already existing one so I can focus on other parts of my game and save time. And I went with the latter. I used the kinematic character controller asset from the Unity Asset Store, which is actually free and it's really good. It handles all the stuff you would expect from a character controller like ground detection, slope handling, physics interactions, moving platforms, uneven ground handling, and a bunch more I failed to mention. Using this asset as a base, I started working on my player character by using a state machine to keep things organized and manageable. Separating the character's logic from the data with scriptable objects also helps too. It took me quite some time, but I finally got my character working properly with a few mechanics too, such as climbing, wall running, and vaulting. I'll be going into more details on this in the next devlog, so you better hit that subscribe button if you don't want to miss that. Then I got tired of looking at the Unity bean, so I decided it was time to get my character a model with some animations. I used this model, which was mainly built for animation, so I had to do a lot of work in Blender to get it game ready. I had to reduce the poly count and apply all the modifiers. Then I baked all the textures to a single material, joining the mesh and rigging the hair and simulated parts of the outfit. I also got rid of the rig and I decided to use Mixamo to rig the character because of some issues Unity had while importing the default rig. It took me a few days, but I finally got it working, and using this asset I was able to get a really good cloth and hair simulation for the character. I made this eye shader by scrolling a texture around the eye mesh, so now I can make the character look around. Then I made this mouth shader that just scrolls and warps around a sprite sheet of different mouth poses. And for the eyelids, I just created a simple clipping shader. Then I added this data effect to all the shaders that happens when the camera gets too close to the player model. This was mainly because of wall running, because the camera would collide with the walls and it would bring the camera way too close to the player, which made it hard to see where to go next. But now I had to face the next issue. The game needed some animations, and I really didn't want to use Mixamo animations because they don't have the exact ones I need. And making my own animations was not an option either, so I needed to find an external asset pack that would work. And I ended up using this one. Okay, I still had to get a few animations from Mixamo because this asset didn't have all I was looking for too.
You could not live with your own failure. Where did that bring you? Back to me.
I'm about to go into a whole tangent about the animation system, so bear with me here guys. The Unity mechanism system is well known for being unintuitive. You can't see me now, but I'm doing air quotes. And don't even get me started on the transition webs of hell, but in all honesty, that's not really the case, well, at least for me. I personally feel like the reasons for that are the bad tutorial videos that devs have just become accustomed to, and now is the norm. What you typically see in Unity tutorial videos on animation is usually 3 animations all connected with transitions, which is all good and fine when you're trying to make a simple game or trying to get things done fast. But what these tutorials would not show you is how bad this scales when trying to add more states and logic to the animator. Well, now let me show you the 3 main ways I used to solve this for JazzGame. What you will want to do is, there is no one-size-fits-all solution for this, and it varies heavily depending on the game. But what I did for JazzGame was to group all animations according to context. What I mean by context in this case are separate animations that serve the same purpose. For example, the vaulting animations are grouped into one sub-state machine. This improves organization and avoids the dreaded transition webs of hell. The next thing you want to do is, this is a function on the animator that manually transitions whatever the current animation is to a given animation over a given time. Also keep in mind that it has this weird thing that it does. So basically I have these facial animations which only have keyframes on properties of the character's face. So when I call crossfade and pass in one of these facial animations, the rest of the body just goes into the default pose because it has no data to crossfade with. Which was why I ended up using only transitions for the facial animations. But I still managed to structure it in such a way that it was more of a cycle or a sequence than a web. Anyways, back to crossfade. I use crossfade when changing animations that will be played indefinitely or when I want to cancel animations, for example going from a slide to a jump. Transition webs are still very useful, you just need to know when to use them. I mostly use them from transitioning out of one-shot animations and I don't put any conditions on them. And the final thing you need to know is, I feel like blend trees are not utilized enough. It's such an efficient way to group animations, but I'm not sure if it has any performance hits. I'll probably need to do some tests on that. But for example, I have 3 main climb animations which I play based on the height of the object. I could keep them separately, but then I would have to create a bunch of if statements checking if the height falls between a certain threshold for an animation to be played. This also removes the need for an extra parameter for the mantle height. But how I did this in JazzGame was to have one animation state for climbing, which is actually a blend tree that uses the mantle height parameter to blend the animations. I use the mantle animations with thresholds kinda serving as the if statements. And with those 3 methods, you should have cleaner animation graphs in Unity once you figure out when and how to use them. And that concludes my tangent about the animation system. So after getting all the animations working properly, I also implemented IK foot placements with these assets. Okay, so I like Ragdolls. Like I really like Ragdolls, so you just know I had to implement it in my game. I initially used the Unity default Ragdoll system, which was not giving me the intended results. I still tried my best to fine tune it to my liking, but it never felt as satisfying as I imagined. Until I came across this asset, which was exactly what I was looking for. So I was met with the same crossroads again. Either I spend more time and implement the Ragdoll system myself, or I just get the asset and save my time for other parts of the game. And I went with the latter, and it was the best decision ever. The asset does everything it's supposed to do and so much more. It handles blending these body preservation poses based on how the character is falling, and it also handles getting back up. But I had a few issues with the Ragdoll animator. It has 3 modes: off, falling, and standing. When it's on off, well, it's basically off, and then when it's on falling, that's when physics takes over and the character flops to the ground. And when standing, it uses forces to match the current animation being played. The only way to have the Ragdolls blend properly with the animations was to leave the Ragdoll animator on standing mode. But that brought weird issues like physics fighting with the animations, especially when wall running. I wanted to be the one in charge of when to go to the Ragdoll mode, so I had to build a class that blends from Ragdoll to normal animations by changing the value of the ragdoll blend in the ragdoll animator. And this worked really well. Like, I had very responsive and satisfying ragdolls while keeping proper animations intact. I had so much fun messing around with the ragdolls that I had to add debug cheats to fling my player around and also transition to the ragdoll state at any time. And PS, if I stop uploading videos to this channel, just know I'm too busy flinging my character around. I created a test level with Pro Builder and this asset, and then I built the game so I can get feedback on the current systems in place. If you want to get a feel for the game yourself and give feedback to help it improve, you can join the Discord community. The link is in the description below. Yeah, and I guess that'll do it for this devlog. Make sure you like the video if you found it helpful or at least entertaining. And also subscribe because I'll be uploading a new devlog soon. So yeah, join the Discord community and follow the socials to get more updates on the game. And I'll see you guys when I see you guys.